I'm a firm believer that we all have a relationship with money, whether positive or negative. We have a relationship that exists with money. And that relationship is based on experiences that we've had in regards to money, maybe in our childhood or in our adulthood, as well as our beliefs about money, what we believe that money can or cannot do for us. I grew up in a single parent household. My dad wasn't around, so I grew up with just my mom, who was actually a teenager when she had both my brother and I. And so we struggled a lot with money growing up. We didn't really live in the best neighborhood. We didn't really have ability to do extra things with money. We were barely getting by each month. And as I got older, my mom progressively went through college and law school and became very successful. But the beliefs about money that I had were really deep rooted from my early childhood experiences. One thing that really stands out in my mind is my mom every year at Christmas saying how she wouldn't be able to afford gifts. And she always found a way, but to me, it always was a bare minimum gift. Like I remember getting toys that I didn't even really want or things that I didn't really ask for. And while I was grateful, I realized that they were probably donated to her because she could not afford the things that we truly wanted. Later on in my teen years, my mom made a deal with me. I'll never forget. This was like one of the most life-changing deals. But I got my very first job, and she told me that all of the money that I saved over the summer, she would match it. And so for me, it was like a game. All I could think about is what I could save. And I remember all of my friends wanting to go to the movies, wanting to go get ice cream, wanting to do all of these things, but I did nothing. All I did was pick up extra shifts at Auntie Anne's Pretzels and figure out how I could save money in order to match this deal. At the end of the summer, I ended up saving over $1,000 and she had to pay me in full. And I remember my mom actually being angry that I did it, but I was so excited. From there, I became a very diligent saver. And I think it was a combination of a lot of experiences. First, I think it was that we struggled as I was a young kid and I never wanted to feel that again. And second, I realized that there was benefits to saving. And so I went into early adulthood saving everything I could. When everyone was at college and living off of their parents' money and having fun, I had a lot of bills I had to pay. So I worked 2 jobs while being full-time in college just to have a good savings account. And I remember my credit score just going up and up and up. And I was just so impressed. It was so interesting that everything started to shift for me because in my family, a lot of people struggle with money. And so even me as a 21, 22-year-old person, just having a great concept of money and saving, I started to get questions from those outside of me, my friends, and even my family members that were older than me started to ask me questions like, how did you save that? What are your saving strategies? Can you teach me this? My cousins wanted to know, my aunts wanted to know, my mom even asked me questions, my siblings, like it was just very, very exciting for me and almost like a competition. Like I wanted to see how much I could save. I wanted to see how far I could push myself. I wanted to see how much I could give up to get to a certain goal. But on the flip side, it also became a problem. I never wanted to spend any money on myself. I never really wanted to go anywhere. And so I had to learn to find a balance. That was about the time that I met my then husband, and he was very much a spender and I was very much a saver. So I kind of learned to find this balance. I learned to find, it's fun to spend, but still keep a good savings amount going. And I remember in our relationship, I very much led the finances in the fact that I was the one that would save. I was the one that would talk about paying down any debts that he may have had. I was the one that was really cognizant of credit scores and just really trying to set an example for our children. Unfortunately, just a few short years after that, we went through a really contentious divorce and proceeded to spend 18 months in court, and I spent $30,000. Now, I was living on an educator's salary, maybe making $50,000 at the time. So if you can guess, I didn't have $30,000 to give to the legal system. And so I struggled. I picked up 2 extra jobs. I started being creative with different resources I had, cleaning for friends and organizing for friends and selling kind of like coaching and counseling services as best as I could just to make ends meet. But more importantly, I maxed out my credit card, which I had never done. And I remember at this point in my life, I felt like I hit rock bottom. To me, the idea of savings was so far-fetched because I was barely making ends meet that I almost went to the total opposite of the spectrum, where for me, I was like, well, I already have $10,000 on my credit card. I might as well spend. Well, I'm already up to $17,000 at this point. I might as well just spend. And so I really had such a negative relationship with money. And I watched what at the time I had a 780 credit score go all the way down to the 600s. And while 600 is still a relatively decent score, that was a big hit for me. That was very, very depressing for me because I had originally set a goal that I wanted to be the first person in my family to hit an 800 credit score, but I was going in the opposite direction instead of the right direction. I stayed in this place for about the entire 18 months that we were going through the divorce, plus an additional year. There came a point in my life where I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I got tired of playing victim to my circumstances. I got tired of being bitter and angry about watching my credit score drop. I got tired of the amount of debt that I held. And that's when I knew it was time to take action. Coincidentally, at that same time, I had the desire to write a book. And so I really dug into writing a book. It was a great outlet for me, as well as I knew in the long run, this would open doors for me. I didn't understand the amount of doors that it would open or the amount of money that it would bring in, but I knew that it would open opportunities. And so all I could think was to put my energy there and that eventually things would make sense. Fortunately, from there, writing my very first book opened a lot of doors for me. From publishing my first book, I started to get people that came to me and asked me questions. How do I publish? How do I become a best-selling author? And so I maximized that. I started to coach people and walk them through that process. I started to support people on their book writing journey and eventually went on to create a course around it. I even started to get speaking engagements and features and interviews, and that also opened up the door for extra streams of income in addition to my royalties. I knew that it was time for me to tackle my debt. And the question is, how do you tackle a giant debt the same way you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That's an old saying. And so I knew that that was the only way it was going to happen. And for me, that was definitely a mindset thing that I needed to get over because I felt like the divorce was over and I just wanted the money to be back in place. But I had to understand that I needed to tackle it. And through this experience, I created a very strict budget and really went back into some of my old ways. I stopped spending. I stopped going out to eat. I got my friends on board to tell them, like, don't pressure me to go out to eat. Got my children on board to pack lunch instead of having them buy cafeteria lunch. And I became very aggressive with tackling my debt. It took me a total of 2 years to get that debt down to zero. But on the flip side, one of the biggest benefits that came out of this is I learned healthy credit management and eventually got my credit score up to the highest that it had ever been, to an 811. I didn't even realize this was possible. But through my diligence, my determination, and my hard work, I was able to get exactly where I originally wanted to be. And although I had a few setbacks and failures and mistakes that I made on the journey, I learned more from rock bottom than I ever learned from mountaintops. And what I mean by that is I learned more by having a lower credit score and a ton of debt than I ever learned simply by saving and being selfish or hoarding all of my money. This is why I became passionate to teach people not only about money management, to talk to people about mindset. Your beliefs about money impact the way that you spend money, impact the way that you save money. They impact the way that you donate money. I also am passionate about teaching people to bring in extra streams of income, whether that's through writing a book or just healing deep wounds that prevent you from being able to move forward in the direction of your success. If you're looking for support on this financial journey, I'm going to put a link below where you can join my Busy Budget Guru course. And this course walks you through the process of how to get in control of your budget, how to maximize the way you spend, how to uncover some of the money blocks, how to uncover some of the beliefs that you have about money, but more importantly, how to create a practical plan so that you can move forward with success in your money. If you are looking for healing after divorce, maybe your divorce has really knocked you down, not only emotionally or mentally, but financially as well. If you're looking for the support to be able to recover from that, great news. I've been exactly where you are, and I have a plan that I can help you put in place that will set you up for success. I'm also going to put the link below. All in all, I say this to let you know that you're not alone on the financial recovery journey. You're not alone in trying to make sense of what happened to you, and you can recover and restore your finances and live a life you love. I look forward to working with you, and I look forward to watching you master your money experience.